Daf Yomi, Tractate Sanhedrin, page 26a, part 2, with the words, Hi Amar Lahu Beresha. Ile Maha Kamaisa Amar Lahu Beresha, Hanami Limaru, Agistavan Ani Bitocho, Ella Ha Amar Lahu Beresha, Yehadar Amar Lahu Ha. The Gemara asks, which did he say to them first? Which incident occurred first? If we say that first he said to them that first exclamation that a priest was plowing the field, let them say to him in this a latter incident too, in which someone was pruning vines, that he could claim in his defense, I am a hired worker in the field. This would have been a better justification than claiming he needed the branches. Rather, apparently, first he said to them this exclamation that a priest was pruning vines, and only then he said to them that a priest was plowing the field. Ma'ishna Kohen, Mishum Nechashidi Ashvis. The Gemara asks, what is different about a priest? Why did Reish Lakish assume the man was a priest? Maybe he knew he was a priest. I don't know. I don't think he would have called him a priest, if he wasn't. But okay, how did he know he was a priest? The Gemara answers it was because priests are suspected of desecrating the sabbatical year. I don't get it. If Reish Lakish is a respectable rabbi, Talmud Chacham, and he calls him a priest, he wouldn't call him a priest. It just doesn't make sense to me. He wouldn't call him a priest if he wasn't a priest. You know what I mean? Our answer is because priests are suspected of desecrating the sabbatical year. Why are they? Anyway, okay. Ditanan Se'ah Truma Shenafal Lemea Se'in Shel Shvis Ta'ale Pachos Mikan Yerakavu. As we learned in the Braita, a Se'ah of Truma, the portion of the produce we learned in the Braita, Se'ah Truma, the portion of the produce designated for the priest that fell into 100 se'ah of sabbatical year produce and was indistinguishable, it's nullified, it's no longer has the status of truma. It can be eaten until the time of the sabbatical year. Produce must be removed from one's possession. If it fell into a lesser quantity of sabbatical year produce, the entire mixture must be left to rot, as it is prohibited for non-priests to partake of truma. V'havinan ba amayir kavu yim karenu lakohen b'demei truma chutz midemei otasa. And we discussed it. Why must the produce rot? Let its owner sell it to a priest in accordance with its value as truma, which is less expensive than regular produce because it can only be eaten by priests. And except for the value of that se'ah of truma that fell in, which the owner is required to give to a priest for free. The priest may then partake of the produce, treating the entire mixture as though it has the sanctity of truma, and both the priest and the owner will benefit. And Rav Chia said in the name of Ula, that is to say, one can infer from the fact that one is not permitted to sell the mixture to a priest, that priests are suspected of desecrating the sabbatical year by partaking of its produce after the time it must be removed from one's possession. They did so because they considered it theirs, the same as Truma, as both mitzvot pertain to the produce of Eretz Yisrael. Therefore, produce of the sabbatical year should not be given or sold to priests. Similarly, Reish Lakish assumed that those who desecrated the sabbatical year were priests. Amru terodahu dayan himatu lehatam seliku ligara shelufa lidarga metute. After Rish Lakish continually bothered them with his comments, Rabbi Chia bar Zarnoki and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehoshua said, "This one is a nuisance." In order to rid themselves of him, when they reached the location where they intended to intercalate the year, they went up to the roof and took the ladder out from under them, so that he would stay below and would not be able to join them. They ditched Rish Lakish. Also, the comment of Rabbi Yochanan, Amar le, B'nei Adam, Achashudin al Shviz, Kishirin al Bir Shana. Sometime later, Rish Lakish came before Rabbi Yochanan. Rish Lakish said to him, "Are people who are suspected of desecrating the sabbatical year fit to intercalate the year?" He believed the two sages who were sent to intercalate the year treated the sanctity of sabbatical year with disrespect. Hadar Amar La Kasheli Mididahavi Ashlosha Roe Bakar Verabanan Achush Benayehu Samuch. Reish Lakish then said in response to his own question, "This is not difficult for me, just as the sages once intercalated the year in accordance with the assessment of 3 cattle herders, see 18b, which is permitted as the sages depended not on the assessment of the cattle herders, but on their own calculation. Perhaps here too, the sages depended on their own calculations, and not on the decision of Rabbi Chia bar Zarnoki and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehoshua. V'hadar Amar Lo Dami Hasam Hadur Imano Rabbanan Bibrula Hishata. Hacha Kesher Rishayim Hu Bekesher Rishayimeno Mina Minyan. El Rabbi Yochanan the Gaka. Rabbi Lakish changed his mind and then said, "It is not similar. There, in the case of the cattle herders, afterward the sages were counted. They made a decision and intercalated that year themselves. Here, by contrast, it is a conspiracy of wicked people, as the sages who intercalated the year are disqualified from doing so, and a conspiracy of wicked people is not counted." Rabbi Yochanan said, "This problem you raise is troublesome." Ki atu l'kamid Rabbi Yochanan namalahu. Ki atu amar le karilan roe bakar v'lo amar le mar v'lo miri amar lahu I kari lahu roe tzon mayaminale. When Rabbi Chia bar Zarnoki and Rabbi Shimon ben Yehoshua subsequently came before Rabbi Yochanan after hearing about his discussion with Rish Lakish, they said to him bitterly, "Rish Lakish referred to us as cattle herders, and the master said nothing to him in response?" And Rabbi Yochanan said to them dismissively, "And even if he had referred to you as shepherds, who are disqualified from bearing witness, in addition to being disqualified from serving as judges, what should I have said to him? He is correct. My kesher rishayim shebna havi daresh betlesa ravasa chizkiya havidarish bechad sar rib vasa. The Gemara asks, what is the source of the halacha that a conspiracy of wicked people is not counted as part of a group? The Gemara answers, Shebna, a steward and minister in King Hezekiah's court, was prominent and a prominent and influential figure. He would teach Torah to an audience of 130,000 followers. Wow. Whereas King Hezekiah would teach Torah to an audience of merely 110,000 followers. Okay. Kias Sanhedrin. Kias Sanhedrin v'tzal alei Yerushalayim. V'tzal alei Yerushalayim. Kasav Shebna Piska Shada Begira Shebna B'siyato Ishlimu Chizkiya B'siyato Lo Ishlimu Shne'emar Ki Hine Harishayim Yidrechun Keshet Konenu Chitzam Al Yeter. Kiasa Sanhedrin v'tzarala Yerushalayim Kasav Shebna Piska Shadra Begira Shebna V'siyatzo. Okay, we did this. When Sanhedrin came to besiege Jerusalem, Shebna wrote a note and shot it over the wall with an arrow. It read, Shebna and his camp have appeased Sanhedrin and are ready to surrender. Hezekiah and his camp have not appeased Sanhedrin, as it is stated in an allusion to this incident. For behold, the wicked bend the bow. They have made ready their arrow upon the string. Psalms 11:2. Hava ka Mistafech Chizkiya Amar Dilma Chas v'Shalom Natya Date Dekucha Barichu Batar Ruba Kevan de Ruba Mi Masri in Hunami Mi Masri Ba Navi ve'Amar Lo Tomrun Kesher Lechol Asher Yomar Ha'am Hazeh Kesher Kilomar Kesher Shaim Hu V'Kesher Shaim Eno Min Haminyan. Hezekiah was afraid. He said, perhaps, God forbid, the opinion of the Holy One, blessed be He, will follow the majority, and since the majority have submitted to the Assyrians, even those who have not submitted will also be submitted into their hands. The prophet Isaiah then came and said to him, say not a conspiracy, concerning all of which this people say, a conspiracy. Isaiah 8:12, meaning, it is a conspiracy of wicked people, and a conspiracy of wicked people is not counted. Therefore, although they are many, they are not considered the majority. Halach lachtzov lo kever b'kivre beit David ba navi ve'omar lo ma lecha po ומי לך פה כי חצבת לך פה קבר הנה השם מטלטל לך טלטלי גבר. Shebna went to carve out a grave for himself among the graves of the house of David, and he thought that the kingship would be given to him. The prophet Isaiah then came and said to him, "What have you here, and whom have you here, that you have carved out a grave for yourself here? You who have carved yourself out a grave on high, and hollowed a habitation for yourself in the rock? Behold, the Lord will make you wander like the wandering of a man, and he will wind you round and about." Isaiah 22:16-17. Amarav tiltula de gavra kashem itita. The Gemara mentions tangentially. Rav says that the wandering of a man is more difficult than the wandering of a woman. He derives it from an expression like the wandering of a man. Tal talegaver ve'ot techa ot ato Amar Rabbi Yossi bar Rabbi Chanina belamed sheparcha bo tzaraat ketiv hacha ve'ot techa ata ato ketiv hatam ve'al safam ya'ateh. With regard to the phrase and he will wind you round and round, Rabbi Yossi, the son of Rabbi Chanina, says this teaches that Shebna developed leprosy. It is written here, and he will wind you round and round. And it is written there in the Torah with regard to a leper, and the leper in whom the plague is, his clothes shall be torn, and the hair of his head shall go loose, and he shall cover his upper lip. Leviticus 13:45. The Hebrew word for upper lip is from the same root as the verb in the verse cited in Isaiah. Yate. Okay. Tzenof yitzan fecha tzenifa kadur el eretz rachavat yadayim. Tena hu bikesh kalon bet adonav. לפיכך נהפך כבודו לקלון. כי הווה נפיג האיהו עתה גבריאל, אך דה לדשא באפה משרתה. The Gemara continues to interpret the prophecy about Shebna. He will violently roll and toss you like a ball into a large country. There you shall die, and there shall be chariots of your glory. You shame of your Lord, your shame of your Lord's house. Isaiah 22:18. A bride to taught, he, Shebna, desired shame for his master's house, therefore his glory turned to shame. This is what happened to him. When he was going out of the gate of Jerusalem to submit to the Assyrians, the angel Gabriel came and held the gate in front of his camp, so they could not follow him. Consequently, he went out by himself.